Ready when you are, CB.
Okay, I'm ready.
Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council, March 2nd of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, the meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting. And may have a flag salute led by Council President Pro Tem DeWeese.
All rise. Salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Thank you. Roll call.
Yes, sir. Hold, please.
Okay.
Roll call. Mr. DeWeese.
Here.
Mrs. Madden.
Here.
Mr. Notaro.
Here.
Mr. Perry. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Rutz.
Here.
Mr. Palestina.
Here.
Mr. Chow. And Chief of Police Paul Newman is participating with us this evening via Zoom. Mr. President.
Thank you. Let's start right with our committee reports. Councilman Perry?
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Works, Roads, Engineering, Sewer, no major issues. Senior citizens, we're still on hold at this point in time, so I have right now.
Thank you. Councilman Otts?
Well, it sounds like we're collecting our developer's fee now that was not being collected prior. And planning board wise, it's this Thursday, so I'll have something to report next time. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Notaro?
Thank you, Mr. President. I spoke with Joe Gawker. He's the president of the fan organization, and he's got some really good projects that he'd like to see through. And the volunteers are working very hard, and we're going to be meeting with them this week and probably sometime towards the end of the week. And for now, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman DeWeese?
The ending that I have, I spoke to Mainland Lacrosse. Next council meeting, we'll have their facilities use at our disposal to consider for approval. They're going to request the use of the football practice field, not the football field this year. That's all that I have.
They coordinate that with FAN, obviously.
We anticipate some improvements to the football field this season, so that's going to be probably shut down very soon.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Negotiations for shared court are continuing. We have shared proposals then and are working towards a resolution for the shared court agreements. Hopefully, we are on our way to having something for next meeting, but we're still awaiting Hamilton Township's response to our suggestions or revisions or adjustments to the resolution. And but we should hopefully be on track to present it to council for our next meeting. Northfield Community School, there are a couple of meetings, I believe the pandemic response team meetings that they have on Thursday afternoon. I think they have 2 sessions scheduled for individuals to kind of meet and discuss the school's response and what they plan for reopening. So that's something that's taking place via Zoom on Thursday afternoon. There is a meeting in a regular scheduled meeting, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after that. But that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. And Councilwoman Madden?
Yes, insurance and safety. I did not attend the meeting. The roads were a little dicey that day, but Shannon did touch base with me and said there was nothing major that occurred at the meeting. The library has an upcoming meeting, and in the early stages, there's discussion about consolidating with the county, but there's still nothing definite yet. I think we have a meeting scheduled. It's either the 9th or the 11th. I'm not sure which day. And Mainland Regional, I did not go attend the meeting. I could not get on Zoom, and their minutes were not posted yet. The only thing of note I saw on their Facebook page was that new instructional plan with increased in-person instruction times begins March the 8th. And, can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes,
Good. And that's all I have.
thank you. Finance and collections. Well, finance, we had our third budget workshop last week. I think we're coming in at a flat budget at this point, so unless something occurs unforeseen. But we will, I guess, in the next meeting or so, have presentation for our resolution for the budget. And that is all I have. Moving on to old business. Do we have any update on the Zion Road pump station easement?
I do. I received the title work that Robbie had received. Unfortunately, that title work had only gone back to 1994, which is about 20 years. Too late for what we're looking for. So with council's permission, I'd like to get an updated title report that goes back to the time frame the next year so we can pull out any previously recorded.
Okay. Do we need to do that, Mary? Do we
How
need
much?
to-
Ish.
500, 750 to the title company.
And you would just bill us on your outside retainer bills?
I can do that.
Yeah, okay. We'll just roll call that, Tom.
I
Okay,
would think I could get under 500, but I don't know the exact rate for the title company.
okay. Roll call to approve getting the title work on that easement.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Rutz,
Yes.
Mr. Palestina,
Yes.
Mr. Facenda, you may proceed.
Let's see, the Northfield Avenue and Route 9 drainage. Any update on that?
Nothing new to update, Council President.
The emergency medical services, is there anything new on that with the RFP?
We have bids coming in March 5th.
Okay,
As of March 1st, March 1st? Yeah, March 1st. I think the new installments will be good for 90 days. Am I correct with that, Brian?
Yeah, we have to extend it 90 days with the current provider, TRICARE. And we just received word just today about negotiations for that, that TRICARE has come back and indicated that they can extend the 90 days for $10,000 per month between the two towns, so $5,000 per town, which is an increase of $1,250 per month from what we are paying, which was $3,750. So that would be for the 90-day extension. So we just have to let Linwood know that we are okay with that. We really don't, there was negotiations on their part apparently to try to get it lower, but essentially TRICARE indicated that they were losing money on the deal. But Linwood is waiting our, I guess, affirmative to move forward with that.
Do we have to put a resolution for that? Can we do it off the floor? Because I think time, right, is, do we have time to do that?
Mr. Facetta, maybe we could put something together quickly between the two meetings and read it into the record, because it's 5,000 a month. You need to approve that formally in writing.
Mhm.
All right, so that's going to be resolution 66.
Let's see, okay, we have no update at this point with the parking spaces at Jackson and Fay. The standing item, I think, any new standing item with the new grant opportunities, is there anything on the table for that? No? Okay. If you'll take out the regular meeting agenda, we can review that. On resolutions, is there any resolutions that we need, that anyone would like pulled?
Yes, I would like a resolution pulled.
I'll ditto that.
64,
Is that
2021.
Same one.
same? Okay. Any other items? Okay, consent agenda, the resolutions, Councilman Notaro, Councilman Perry, and all resolutions that would be.
Okay.
Ordinances, Councilwoman Madden, Councilman Deweese. Payment of bills, Councilman Smith. And meeting notices, Councilman Otts.
You need a second on bills. 8 minutes.
Bills. Second on bills, Councilman Deweese.
10 minutes.
Approval of minutes.
I missed approval of minutes. Okay. Approval of minutes. Councilman Perry and Councilman Deweese.
Who's the second, Tom?
Council, you. Okay. At this point, I will open up the public session. This meeting is now open to the public for anyone from the public wishing to speak on any subject. Please state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
Hi, my name is Deidre Freud, and I live at 19 Zion Road. And I'm here tonight as, you know, I live on Zion Road, so I drive it every day. I also walk the bike path with my family. And there's like a real issue with cars not being able to see pedestrians on the bike path there. The road is diagonal, and some of the properties have trees, so when you're driving, it's really hard. Also when you're walking. So I was thinking, maybe we can get one of those blinking lights, the pedestrian blinking lights that they have at Tilton. So that's why I came here today.
And where was that? Zion and
Zion and the bike path.
the bike path, okay.
We would have to petition the county for that.
Actually, this is part of our grant application to upgrade the bike path. We're proposing to realign the bike path to cross Zion properly, and we're proposing beacons at that point also. So if the grant comes through, that will be part of what we're proposing to do. I had discussed that with Mark. I sent him plans and he was okay with that tentatively. So when this grant comes in, we're gonna have a proper design plans will be approved by the county to realign the bike path.
What are beacons?
Those flashing
Looking
lights.
lights.
Yeah, they'll be like a little bit better than the one on Tilton Road. We're proposing the diamond shape with like lights all the way around it. So it's, people would pay attention to it.
That was fast. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's easy.
Well, since I have a couple minutes, I just want to say, I don't know if everybody knows this, but even if you're not a parent of a school-aged child, you can sign the petition to open Northfield schools online, even if you're just a resident. So we're all trying to get our kids back to school full time. Not all of us, but some parents are. So just wanted to take time to say that.
At least everyone signed the petition, right?
Yes, please. It's not easy.
I mean, at least everyone that did sign it. I'm not,
But thank you guys.
thank you.
I do have a Zoom user who was next in line, so I apologize if you can just wait just a moment. So Mrs. Gary, where'd you go, Mrs. Gary? So Mrs. Gary, in the Zoom chat, can you tell me, are you under Bill Gary or how are you listed? Mrs. Gary, are you iPad 4? Okay. All right, Mrs. Gary, I have unmuted you. Go ahead and speak and let's see if we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So if
Okay.
you don't mind, please stating your name and address for the record.
Yes, Alicia Gary, 202 St. James Place.
Thank you.
You can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my first concern is I would like to know why is there $258,000 being proposed for the budget for OEM? I don't think it's necessary to purchase 2 new vehicles equipped, 4 generators and office furniture all at once. It should be spread out over time. No other department gets all this at once. This is an on-call by only a few people on the department, and it should be, I believe it should be scaled back. Why not look into possibly even used vehicles? So that's my biggest concern as far as that's a large amount of money that's being proposed in the budget for one department. I don't know why, nothing's ever been proposed prior to this in this large amount. And it's almost like you're replenishing the entire department all at once. Okay, so then I guess I'll just move on since nobody's gonna respond.
Mrs. Gary, that would be the mayor's department, unfortunately, and he's not in attendance with us this evening. I apologize.
Okay.
I will let you know that that's just it's part of our capital projects that we approved it for capital, but the spending occurs, it takes more approvals for the spending.
Okay, I just think, well, then.
It hasn't been spent.
I understand it hasn't been spent, but it could be spent.
It'll come up to the council before anything is spent.
Right. So running in off of that, then I believe the issue as far as the fire department asking for a new ladder truck, okay, this, of course, is concerning the safety of all Northfield residents. And they had asked for a commitment at your budget meeting, I believe, for, so that they could do the research and pricing and specifics for looking into a new ladder truck. And this would be put in for the budget for 2022. And thereby they would have all the specifics then. And then it takes approximately 9 months to a year for the new truck to come in, which means the new truck wouldn't arrive till approximately 2023. So I don't know if council did make the commitment. I would think that you could, it would be in the best interest of council to make the commitment, because every year you put this off is another year in delay. So by not giving them the commitment, they can't move forward. They're not going to, do all the work and the research for it if they don't have a commitment from council that it will be put in the budget next year. And as far as an option for a used truck, I don't see how that's going to be very cost effective.
We did discuss that with the fire department, and they came to the meeting and they, with their request, and we're going to work with them through the year, as we said at the last budget meeting. We'll work with them to find the best deal for the city and the best apparatus for fighting the fires.
Okay, so council did make a commitment then so that they could go ahead and start the research. Is that correct?
Not formally.
We didn't commit to the number that they presented. We committed to discussing it to find out what's going to be the best. There are other options than what was presented. And the safety of the city is, of course, a top priority of this council. And I think I could speak for the whole council on that one. And we will be working with the fire department to make sure that we get something that meets a desperate need.
Okay, well, in my personal opinion would be, I would hope that we would be looking into that this year so that it can be put in next year's budget, as the ladder truck is already outdated as it is. So, for the safety of, for the safety of the city and for all the residents, I would think this would be paramount on the agenda for council to be looking into. And then lastly, in reference to the curbing put in on Fay Avenue, as it is not complete to the end of Dolphin or to Zion Road, I would like to know, are these areas going to be budgeted to complete? That was my first question there. And the additional cutout and curbing and cement walkway on Davis Avenue, which is on both sides of Fay, one to the bike path and one from the sidewalk to the street. Was this part of the grant? If not, who paid for it? And what is the purpose of these two cutouts?
Talk about the handicap at Davis Avenue. The handicap on Davis Avenue on the sidewalk side was a cutout so people can get wheelchairs off the sidewalk down across the street into the roadway, and then on the other side so they get up onto the bike path. We had residents call and had a concern that they could not get wheelchairs from Davis Avenue to access the bicycle path. So we, as a change order, we approved them to put those handicap accessibility ramps in on that particular project. And I don't believe it was an extra on the project. I think it was covered within the project funds.
Okay, is this the only handicap ramp you have throughout the bike path in Northfield?
Rami, can you speak to that?
Yeah, we have upgraded a lot of handicap ramps along Fay, and most of the handicap ramps allows people to get onto the bike path from the sidewalk. In this area, we didn't have any way to get the pedestrians and handicapped people from Davis onto the bike path. So we had actually a few residents requested that. So I met with the Councilman Deweese. I think we have enough money in the budget to cover the cost of that handicap ramp.
I don't know. I'm looking at it and it doesn't make sense. I see other areas where you could use it, but it seems very specific there.
Because the person on Davis trying to use the bike path and a handicapped person, they have to go all the way
Had to all get down towards Zion Road to access the bicycle path.
or the other side. So
Right.
they have to go
So that-
up the entire block and come back to get to that point.
I think
And on
we're
a
running,
wheelchair, I think it's a little bit difficult.
running a little bit late on time here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Branca, and I live at 23 Evergreen Avenue, Egg Harbor Township, and I am part of the Grassroots Second Amendment Society. The last time we were here, Mr. Hutz had a great question about gun safety and education. And I told you before that, you know, we do support that kind of thing. I have some things in the flyer that I want to tell you about. I'm working with Andrew Parker, Councilman in Egg Harbor Township, who is a very big Second Amendment supporter. And through him, we're working with the Egg Harbor Township Police Department, the Atlantic County Range, and the Egg Harbor Township Rec Department. We're trying to put together the Eddie Eagle program, which is a gun safety program for children. We're gonna probably set it into 2 groups, from 4-year-olds to maybe 8-year-olds, and then 9-year-olds to maybe 12 to 14-year-olds. We believe that we could have this program up and running by the summertime. So this is the kind of things that we are working on. We're just not, you know, all we're asking for is that we, lost my train of thought. All we're asking for is that you sign this resolution, and what the resolution says is you support or you don't support any, you know, unjust, unconstitutional new gun laws that come up. So I hope you sign a resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Branca.
Thank you.
I have another Zoom user who would like to speak. Is someone coming up? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Rose Dickerson. I'm from Muskegon, New Jersey. And I'm here to say a little something in regards to gun safety. People are putting it down and saying that it's wrong, and you don't need the guns, that they're harmful. And I disagree with people. Guns not the problem. It's the people that use the gun. They need to get a hold of these people and put them in jail or wherever they need to be. The gun is not the problem. So I hope and read the Second Amendment. This helps the Second Amendment with this gun problem. And I hope they resolve it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have a Zoom user who wanted to speak, Amanda Minarick. Amanda, did you want to type into chat or did you want to speak in person? And if you're speaking in person, okay, there you are. I've just sent you a request to unmute. Okay, go ahead, please, and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Amanda Minerick. My address is 916 2nd Street. And I'd actually like to build a little bit off of the last person who spoke. I'm curious if the council has looked into some of the areas that have already passed this Second Amendment resolution. I'm curious if they're aware of the problems happening in Culpeper County, Virginia, where after passing the Second Amendment resolution, the sheriffs are now refusing to uphold gun laws. The same thing is happening in Colorado. There are 8 counties in Oregon who are refusing to uphold federal laws after passing the gun resolutions. Fayette County and York County, Pennsylvania are also refusing to uphold the federal gun laws after passing Second Amendment resolutions. Washington State, they are refusing to run background checks after passing Second Amendment resolutions. I'd also like to read I'd like to know why our small, quiet town of Northfield wants to associate with places that are currently refusing to uphold federal gun laws after passing Second Amendment resolutions. Everyone on the council took an oath to uphold the Constitution. That is not in question. What is in question is why we want to associate with places that are flaunting federal law. I'd also like to read something that I wrote for the Sentinel. Let's begin by stating the obvious. Responsible gun ownership is and should remain protected by the Second Amendment. The right to defend one's person or home, hunt, or even the right to hone skills at a firing range are not in question. However, this has not prevented the members of Northfield City Council from proposing a meaningless resolution claiming that common sense gun laws are in danger of infringing upon Second Amendment rights. During the 11th month of the pandemic, 2 days after the anniversary of the Parkland shooting, David Notaro of the Northfield City Council decided the best use of your time was to present a resolution to add Northfield to the ever-growing list of gun sanctuaries. The proposed resolution states that Northfield will oppose any legislation that is inconsistent and contrary to those rights provided by the Second Amendment. The clear implication that people's rights are in danger of being taken away is simply untrue. There are more first-time gun owners in New Jersey than ever. It has increased over 300% in 2020. It is obvious that gun ownership is not at risk. This resolution is nothing but an echo of a dangerous dog whistle that has increasingly been sounding throughout the country for decades. New Jersey enjoys some of the lowest gun violence numbers in the country, largely due to our strict yet reasonable gun control laws. Why fix what isn't broken? Notaro's apparent obsession with firearms became evident during his campaign when he defaced the Northfield city seal by crudely surrounding it with crossed guns, and it is therefore not surprising he has chosen to focus on this non-issue. None of New Jersey's gun laws are unconstitutional. And even if they were, local governments do not have the power to override state gun laws. The court system is the appropriate place for these issues to be decided, not via council resolutions. During the last council meeting, supporters of the resolution repeatedly stated that they are just watchdogs or just looking out for our rights. However, these vaguely worded resolutions allow for organized hate groups to shield themselves among well-meaning citizens. The idea of gun sanctuary cities began with far-right militia groups and have spread through the country at an alarming rate. Many local governments that have enacted these resolutions are now refusing to uphold state gun laws, fostering distrust between citizens and police forces, opening themselves up to costly litigation, and ultimately making their citizens less safe. These actions are unconstitutional, which is ironic considering these resolutions claim to defend the Constitution. We are in the midst of a global pandemic that has claimed the lives of over 22,000 New Jersey residents. Schools are attempting to open safely, and social services are straining under enormous pressure. There's a growing movement of mutual aid springing up within communities because so many are struggling, while food banks and social safety nets are unable to keep up with the ever-growing demand. State unemployment continues to receive thousands of new applications weekly, with unprecedented funds being paid out last week, according to the Department of Labor. Our budgets are stretched, political tensions remain at an all-time high, yet what is Northfield doing to address these issues? Our elected officials should be focusing on improving the lives of the people they represent, not writing and passing resolutions opposing non-existent legislation. While individuals are free to devote their time and energy to gun rights or gun control advocacy groups, useless and potentially dangerous resolutions like these should stay out of our small town city hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Minnick.
Thank you. Jill Bunting, 1337 New Road, Bunting Family Pharmacy. I'll make this brief. I just want to give a little bit of background of the new baseball league that has been created. It's called the South Jersey South Shore Baseball League. We're very fortunate to have a wonderful family, successful business, and this is right out there with something we're really very proud of. So we're going to be starting in May. I'm going to be moving Northfield Finals, which has been part of the Atlantic County Baseball League for the last 8 years, into this.
We got notification last week that the Atlantic County Baseball League has folded. 6 of the teams have come into a new league, and we have gotten 4 other new teams. In the state of total of 10 teams. We have a nonprofit organization, which we're very proud of, that has a 6-member board. We are going to be the grandstand sponsor of the first cancer tournament at the Regional High School in a few months. And our goal is just to give great opportunity for the youth of these communities, from Point, Una, Galloway, Ventnor, Edgewater City, Seacon, Philippi, an opportunity to play baseball. I put in $22,000 of my own money to create this league, and by doing it, we cut the cost to $1,000 for a league fee for each team. Another requirement of it for each team is each team has to do at least 2 clinics or outreach to the each city's Little League or Babe Ruth or whatever that league or that city wants. And we're also going to fundraise, and the goal is to ultimately give back conservative estimates, hopefully $5.
Excuse me, Mr. Bunting, if you could speak up, the Zoom folks say they can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Give back approximately $5 back, up to $500 back into each city to be able to utilize the other programs down the road. So again, I just wanted to give a background on this. It's something that I'm personally very proud. I have a great board that's overseeing it, and I think it's going to be, no pun intended, a home run. Again, I'm looking to have the Northfield Cardinals, and we've had great interest. So with that, Pat McCarthy, who's been amazing here in Northfield with the Babe Ruth, is helping out with the secondary, the second team, which is the South Jersey Surf. In fact, we had 4 Northfield youth email us today via our website. But the goal again is keeping the cost down for parents. Comes out to $40 potentially a kid. With that, that's the insurance, umpire fees, 24 baseball games, interactive website. We've started dialogue with some college coaches, maybe there might be some college opportunities for some of the youth. But again, just give a background on it. I think it's something that the city can be proud of. And I spoke to Lake Harbor Township, Summers Point, and Ventnor. The other thing, from a business standpoint, I'm hoping this comes back, becomes a community event where people are going out, and then maybe this attracts, attention to the different small businesses in the area. But, thank you very much for listening to my little talk, and hopefully you guys get behind this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the volunteering that you do, and all the support.
Hello, my name is John Walsh. I'm from 2000 Grove Road in Northfield. I just wanted to make a couple of comments based on the Zoom comments that were made just a few minutes ago. One of the things that struck me was the comment that about the Second Amendment, about the Constitution, sort of the irony between the anti-gun and pro-Second people. One of the things that I think—
Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, they cannot hear you.
Okay.
That microphone, because we can't sanitize it, is not on. So if whoever is speaking publicly just needs to try and speak a little bit louder, please. Thank you.
Some of the legislation that's being proposed recently is something that really is kind of baffling to me, to think that it's somehow going to create a safer environment. If that, in fact, is the root of gun safety and new gun legislation, then I'd like to have it explained to me. I'd like to have it explained to me how a 50% taxation on firearms is going to help safety in America. I'd like to know how there's legislation being proposed that if someone breaks into your house, the rule is going to be that you leave the house rather than try to defend it. There, I believe, is 80-some new bills being proposed for gun control in the state of New Jersey. And we're talking about a book that's already the size of the New York City phone book. So I just don't understand how more legislation, more bills, more gun control bills is going to help safety in America when they just don't add up. The strongest city in America for guns, the anti-gun gun control is Chicago, which every weekend has more shootings than just about any major city in America. It just, if you're going to make a common sense gun law, then make it make sense. Don't make it chip away at the Second Amendment. Make it so that it's going to be acceptable for the communities, for the safety of the communities. Taxation is not the answer. Letting people break into your house and not being able to defend yourself is not the answer. We have to come to some kind of a common sense on this. You know, it is the Second Amendment means that you cannot infringe on the Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment in New Jersey is radically different than some of the other states. Why is that? It's the same Constitution. So, you know, the point that the caller was making were some of these other places where, you know, the law enforcement is not enforcing some of the laws. Well, maybe the laws need to be looked at. You know, maybe taxation isn't going to make us safe. You know, maybe we have to look at, you know, keeping people in prison that do crimes with handguns. You know, some of the other things that would actually make more sense in a safety for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandy Hickerson. I live at 210 Upland Avenue in Absecon, New Jersey. I just wanted to start off here tonight and thank Councilman David Notaro for bringing this resolution forward. Again, we presented this a year ago, and COVID came upon us back at this time, so we weren't able to follow up or move on or anything. We were all focused on that. So since we're, you know, starting council meetings in person again, and we had the Zoom and whatnot, I wanted to come to David again and bring this resolution forward again. So I want to thank him for doing that. You know, this is a hot topic about gun safety and gun control. So I appreciate him. As me, from being a citizen of New Jersey and being a law-abiding gun owner, it's important that our representatives listen to us. So I thank you, David, for having a backbone and standing up and working with us, working with Councilman Utz. I appreciate you as well, working together and trying to come up with a resolution that is fitting and acceptable to everyone. So thank you, gentlemen, very much for doing that. And I just wanted to make you realize again, this is a bipartisan issue. This is a human rights issue. 1 year ago today, the Atlantic County Commissioners passed a Second Amendment resolution here in the county, and it was Commissioner Corsi who actually sponsored the resolution. And as we all know, he's a Democrat, and I applaud him for doing that. He was the representative for the Public Safety Committee for the Commissioners, and he went ahead and he drafted this resolution, I'm sure with the help of the other commissioners, and Atlantic County passed and became a Second Amendment friendly county 1 year ago. So this is definitely for everyone. It's just, like I said at the last meeting, you know, this is not black or white, this is not Democrat or Republican, this is about everyone. The number of firearm owners is growing in New Jersey and across the nation. And here tonight, we're talking about New Jersey, we're talking about Northfield, we're not talking about other states and other counties and other states. They're all governed differently. We're talking about the gun laws here in New Jersey where they're so strict. So the resolution that is in the agenda tonight, we did have a slight concern with one of the sentences in the last paragraph, the last whereas. So we have talked with Councilman Notaro to work with us with that, and hopefully we can maybe strike that line We would appreciate that because obviously we know that firearms manufacturers, we don't hold them accountable for our actions. That's unheard of. So I appreciate you taking care of that and listening to us, listening to the concerns of the law-abiding citizens. We're just everyday Americans. We're your neighbors. We all want the same thing. We all want gun safety. Absolutely. Like my mom was saying, this isn't about the firearm. This is about people. It's not the tool that causes the damage. It's about the person. The person causes the damage, not the tool, not the firearm. But thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And I, again, appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And thanks for coming to me and presenting it to me because I proudly sponsor this.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Elliot Almanza. I live actually next town over in Lumen, 305 Ball Avenue, but I spend most of my waking hours here in Northfield at 616 Road. That's where the law office is, where I practice. I speak on behalf of just myself, not my phone. I just wanted to talk for a minute about the Second Amendment resolution. You may have heard that a resolution like this is performative, in that it's not enforceable. And that's true, of course. But there's something else at play here that I want to discuss, something that's more troubling. That is the implication that Northfield, in its discretion, may decide to not enforce a law that's been passed by a superior legislative body. I know Northfield is a law and order town. Law and order means more than supporting the police. It also means adhering to the principle that when a superior legislative body duly enacts the law, the inferior legislative body follows and abides by that law. This is a concept that exists whether we're talking about the relationship between our federal government and our state government, or even within our state government. With regard to the federal system, I'm referring to the supremacy clause. It's right there in the Constitution. There's no mistake. When it comes to the state system, we have something called home rule. It's in Article 4 of our New Jersey Constitution. You're likely all familiar, but it gives municipalities broad discretion and authority to adopt laws that give effect to expressive vitality. However, home rule also has.
Excuse me, sir, if you could please speak up, I'm sorry.
Sure. However, home rule has explicit prohibition on the use of authority in a manner inconsistent with or contrary to the state constitution and state laws. So with those concepts in mind, I want to take a look at two sentences in particular of this resolution. The first one includes language that, quote, Northfield opposes laws that inhibit the law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights, and also another sentence that, quote, opposes any legislation that is inconsistent and contrary to the rights provided by the Second Amendment. So I want to unpack that verb there twice, opposes. I want to look it up because it's good to have a working definition of what opposes means. So I went to the source, which is the OED. And two of the primary definitions of opposes are, quote, to disapprove of and attempt to prevent, and the other is, quote, to actively resist or refuse to comply with. So my question to this body is, if the state or the federal government passes a law that in this body's discretion you believe contravenes the Second Amendment, is Northfield going to disapprove of and attempt to prevent enforcement of that law? Is this body going to actively resist or refuse to comply with that law? If the answer is no, then what's the point of this? And if the answer is yes, then Northfield doesn't really get to claim that it's a law and order town. Law and order doesn't actually mean law and order. It means following the law when it leads to my preferred policy outcome and undermining it when it does not. And let me be clear, a resolution like this does not confer any rights. It does not enhance any rights. It doesn't give anything substantive. But it does show a disdain for the rule of law. There is nothing to be gained by a resolution like this, but there is absolutely something to be lost. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
My name is Salvatore Giambrone, 209 Jefferson Avenue, Norfolk Township.
Could you please speak up, sir?
I stand before you humbly as a local Egg Harbor Township, a father, a husband, a person who's chosen to have an executive position in this area, someone who takes discipline and education very seriously. I also teach over at the ACC culinary program as well. Met Sandy about a year ago, and she was offering a different way of thinking towards how to stand up for something that you believe in. I never really did anything like this before. Second time ever at the podium, kind of same people, which is great. So I'm just kind of here to offer you a different way of thinking. I spoke about it last time when I spoke about discipline. I'm going to speak even deeper today about education. Then when I was up there before talking about a program about teaching young about how to become a professional with a tool, which is something that some of you may have decided, because that's your free will, not to become a professional. I have decided, instead of waiting for somebody to help me and my family in case something happens, I've decided to learn and become educated on how to protect myself, protect my family. That's my job. I'm hoping that I never have to use this technique. I'm hoping that I never have to stand up against an oppressor, ever have somebody look in my home, threaten us, threaten me. But the bad guy doesn't care if it's cold out. He doesn't care if it's raining. He doesn't care if it's dark. Could be he, she, doesn't matter. So I have to be prepared for that. So I have to educate. I have to educate myself, educate my family, and what to do in these situations. So it's resolutions like this that make it easier for me to protect my family. Now I'm willing to bend or do whatever it is to make sure that this happens. And I believe that's what we're here to say, that we're here because we see that there is issues with it. We see that there needs to be a mass amount of education. You know, you can apply for a firearms ID, do the background check, I pay the fee. Next thing you know, I have a firearms ID. Now I can purchase a gun. I haven't received a pamphlet. Nobody took my email address to be part of any type of organization where I can find out these rules and regulations. I have to go to Facebook to find that out. On my own will, I have to learn. I have to find a professional to teach me so I can become the professional. Take our governor, for example. He does not feel that he wants to be a professional with this school, but he will hire someone to protect him and his family. He has every right to protect himself. He has every right to learn this education. It's all there to go to YouTube. All right? And I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's my job to make sure that I can use it properly and point anything in a safe direction. And everybody has a right, but again, some of you have chosen not to do this, but to put it in somebody else's hands. We have chosen not to do that. We have chosen to educate ourselves. So I think on this program, like the gentleman spoke about earlier, starting in young, educating them on the pro safety, on how to operate a tool that I know can harm. The guys that I train with, we never say that we're going to shoot somebody or kill or anything like that. We talk about eliminating a threat. A threat can be not even a human. It could be a wild dog, it could be an animal. It could be anything that's a threat to us. And I'd rather be in a situation where I'm going to resort to my lowest form of training, because that's what's going to take over. Your lowest form of training will take over when things go wrong. So if I could feel comfortable in a situation that's pretty chaotic, I feel like I could better provide for my family. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think I have someone in Zoom. I don't know who GS2AGO is.
That's my organization, the Garden State Second Amendment Grassroots Organization.
Well, somebody named Jimmy is saying GS2AGO has their hand up. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know who that person is on Zoom and if they want to speak.
I believe her name is Shelley.
She's got to say who she is.
That doesn't help me.
Hello, am I unmuted? Yes, this is.
Are you the user, ma'am? Are you the user who is is on Zoom as GS2AGO.
That is correct. Yes, I am.
Okay. Go ahead and
That's the
please,
avatar.
please
Go
state your
ahead.
name and please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Shelley Kennedy, and I live in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. I'm speaking on behalf of the Second Amendment resolution, which is before the governing body tonight. I have several comments, and I hope you find them valuable. First, I would like to say that sheriffs and other actions in other states are irrelevant to us. This resolution specifically states that we remain compliant with existing firearms laws at the state and federal level. What other people do in other states is of no consequence to us. Violent crime spiked last year all over the country after decades of declines. Police are stretched thin with new policies and coronavirus duties. Police response times are lengthening everywhere. Police want to do what's right, but as federal courts have maintained time and again, they do not have a duty to protect. Just ask Carol Bowen, if you could, because she was killed by her ex, about this state's regressive gun laws. Carol requested a concealed carry permit, but despite real threats on her life and a court order of restraint, her killer ended her life while she was waiting for the laws to change in her favor so she could adequately protect herself against her bigger and stronger attacker. Carol was denied the most basic of civil rights, the right to defend herself. She was denied that choice. Her civil rights were infringed. The Second Amendment does not confer rights. It protects a right we all have by our own nature. By passing this resolution, you are affirming the civil rights of every person in your community. Gun rights are civil rights. Minority communities and women are disproportionately affected by poorly conceived gun laws which only punish the law-abiding. Study after study affirms that taxes, bans, restrictions, and fees only disenfranchise minorities and women. As a woman, I do not agree with laws that restrict my civil rights. This applies to the Second Amendment as much as it does to the First, the Fourth, and all of the Bill of Rights. As a feminist and a civil rights advocate, I object to any restriction on my rights or those of anyone in other vulnerable communities. Trans and gay people are victims of violent crime at a much higher rate than other communities. By failing to defend their right to keep and bear arms, we disenfranchise them by our silence. As a feminist who looked up as a child to Gloria Steinem, Mary Tyler Moore, and other trailblazing women, the thought that any government would restrict my civil rights to defend my body is abhorrent to me. It is as abhorrent as it would be for someone to restrict availability of contraceptives or life-saving medications. Firearms applications are historically up by the millions all over the country, including this state. Clearly, people, including those in New Jersey and in Northfield, are concerned about their safety. Responsible firearm ownership increases safety in a community. According to a study requested by Barack Obama from the CDC in 2013, guns save lives. The CDC found that commonly believed gun safety laws did nothing to promote public safety and even worse, made things worse. A review of current applications shows that approvals in many municipal PDs have slowed to a crawl or stopped completely. PDs in some towns are not complying with the 30-day requirement to approve permits of those who have already completed the state requirements. Some communities have 800 and 900 permits waiting in a backlog. This is against state law because clearly they have a 30-day period to approve permits of those who have already completed the state requirements. Municipal governing bodies such as Northfield should show that they mean for their police departments to comply with the state and federal laws. As we must comply with the laws, so must the chiefs of police. A sober and factual debate of guns should acknowledge three things. One, guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens stops many more incidents of violence than are reported because the media and others have a narrative. Two, banning guns or gun parts won't
Sorry,
stop
we're,
violence.
could you wrap it up? Just a couple seconds. You're over your 5 minutes.
Will give criminals more targets rather and more victims. Three, limiting the civil rights of law-abiding citizens works against the public interest and emboldens criminals in an era of early releases and sentence bargaining. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers wishing to speak? Any more on Zoom? Oh, we do have one in chambers.
Hello, Melanie Brzezowski, 207 Surrey Ave, Northfield.
I'm so sorry. Say your name again.
Melanie Brzezowski.
Thank you.
I'm here to present the petition against the gun resolution. I'll just read briefly what it says here. The challenges that Northfielders face as a community have only been exacerbated by the pandemic. People are worried about containing the spread of the virus, finding and keeping employment, reopening schools, and enduring financial insecurity. Instead of addressing any of these daily struggles, City Council is wasting time, energy, and our taxpayer dollars to put forth unpopular and vainglorious resolutions that would make Northfield a gun sanctuary. It's just another example of how politicians routinely dismiss the concerns of everyday people to further their own agenda. As the people they are supposed to serve suffer, they're playing politics with something that is already a constitutional right. They mock the suffering of Northfielders by ignoring our needs in favor of fanfare politics. Local leaders were elected to serve our community, not to waste resources on unnecessary political and fear-motivated sham resolutions. These type of resolutions are sweeping the country, often with origins or backings from hate groups linked to white power movements such as the 3%ers. Northfield doesn't need gun resolutions, we need resolutions. Here's the petition. I didn't prepare any comments further than that because, like, honestly, this is just a charade. I don't know if you guys are lost, but you're not the United States Supreme Court. You're not legislators. This is literally not your job. So while I don't know how you can expect me to care how you feel about any individual amendment, the second, the 13th, I don't really care. They're part of the Constitution. You said you were going to uphold it, and stop wasting our taxpayer money. I mean, each one of you is paid thousands of dollars to sit here and do what? This resolution is legally meaningless. But since you like performative resolutions, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will say that residents always have an opportunity to submit a written comment in advance of the meeting, and I do have a written comment that was initially intended to be read during the regular portion of the meeting. However, given the content of what the resident statement was, I feel if she were here in person, she would rather have it read now. So with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and read that letter.
Please.
This is from Gabrielle Leaney, 210 West Glen Cove Avenue, Northfield, New Jersey. She says the council is proposing a resolution opposing unconstitutional limits on gun ownership. The Supreme Court has ruled on the Second Amendment in two recent major decisions. In the 2008 Heller decision, the court ruled the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to keep and bear arms for traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home. In the 2010 McDonald case, the court ruled that state and local governments cannot enact a ban prohibiting citizens from legally possessing handguns in their homes. However, regarding the 2008 ruling, the court made it clear that, quote, nothing in our opinion should be taken to cast doubt on longstanding prohibitions on the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places such as schools and government buildings or laws imposing conditions and qualifications on the commercial sale of arms, end quote. Writing for the majority, Justice Scalia noted, quote, like most rights, the right secured by the Second Amendment is not limited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose, end quote. The 2010 ruling did not alter the court's opinion. All council members have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey. It is therefore stands to reason that you would oppose legislation that is inconsistent, contrary, inhibiting, or infringing on any rights provided by the United States Constitution, whether it be the Second, 14th, 15th Amendments, or any included right. It seems unnecessary and perhaps misleading for the council to adopt a resolution concerning only one amendment to the Constitution when it is sworn to uphold all. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Council President, before you close the public session, I'd like to comment on an earlier call
Yes.
about the placement of the handicap ramps. Rami, from an engineering standpoint, that particular intersection is a T intersection, right? And the reason why we chose to move those ramps where they are is because of the way the intersection is set up. There's a guide rail across the street, a timber guide rail and inlet. So that's why we moved those handicap ramps where we did. Is that correct? Right. Okay. Right. So that's why they're in a specific location.
Okay, I think we do still have a couple of folks from Zoom who wanted to speak. Okay, I believe the next in line is Eileen Tolland. Mrs. Tolland, you are unmuted. Please go ahead and state your name and address for the record. Mrs. Tolland, can you hear me? Oh, she just muted herself. Hang on. Mrs. Tolland? Mrs. Tolland, you are unmuted. Can you hear me? I've typed into the Zoom chat asking her if she still wishes to speak. She has not responded. She is unmuted. I don't know why she's not responding, so.
Maybe a computer problem or something. Was there another Zoom person?
That's what I'm going to look for. Okay. Mrs. Tolland, okay. Go ahead and try speaking, please. Mrs. Tolland, I keep unmuting you and it keeps remuting. Could you please try and speak for me? Yeah, there's some sort of a technical difficulty. Mrs. Tolland, if you would like to type your comments, I would be happy to read them for you. Okay, Mrs. Tolan, I just sent you another unmute request. She's asking me to try again.
Okay.
You're unmuted, Mrs. Tolan. Nope, she just muted again. Mrs. Toland, your microphone is unmuted. Okay, I'm typing into the Zoom chat that if she's speaking, we cannot hear her. And I have offered to read her comments for her, so if we can just give her a moment to see if she'd like to do that.
Okay, thank you.
I still have nothing from her. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there no one else in?
Is there anyone else in the Zoom chat who would like to make a public comment? No.
Okay, with that, we will close the public session. Apologize for the technical difficulties if they're on our side, Mrs. Tolan. And do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll take a brief recess and then we will start the regular meeting.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, now she's saying we didn't give her a chance to talk. Hold on. Just a moment.
Social distancing. There's no social distancing in here.
I'm going to tell her that.
Yes. No, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, it's probably,
Hanging in there, hanging in there. That's about it.
Excuse me, Tom.
Yes, Barbara.
Can I see the petition, please? How
Okay.
many names are on it?
So, Tom, real quick, the mic is still live because I want anybody out there still to hear me, even though the meeting's adjourned.
Yes.
I explained to her that there is another meeting going to start in a minute. There's another public comment portion, and suggested that if she can't use her computer, that she can dial in using one of the telephone numbers. Okay?
I'm still reading it.
Good evening. This is the regular session for Northfield City Council, March 2nd of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, the meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. Full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. May I have a flag salute by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remember and keep in our prayers those serving in our nation's armed forces, especially our troops away from home. And let us also pray for a speedy recovery and resolution to the pandemic that we are all experiencing throughout the world. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Retz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
Mr. Chow?
Here.
And Chief of Police Paul Newman is also with us via Zoom. Mr. President?
Thank you. Approval of the minutes?
Make the necessary motion, dispense with reading the minutes and post it, distribute to council. We'll file the municipal clerk's office for the February 16th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mayor's report.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to announce on the ACUA, in accordance to the contract for collection services for the city of Northfield, the contract's cost will increase by 0.77% based on the annual increase. The effective May 1st of this year, the annual fee for the following collection services will be as follows. For all of our trash collections, it will be $213,342.75. In addition, there will be the annual fee for the following collection service will be as follows. Our recycle collection is $146,830.88. Yard waste collection, $140,883.39. And there will be a total of 43 collections. And our pool charge is $132.30. Council President and council members, I will be meeting with our library director, with the county administration to discuss and exchange data with regards to the concept of possibly joining the Atlantic County library system. There is potential savings, but right now I don't have hard numbers, but also there are benefits by joining the county system. Regardless, if council should decide to move forward on this, it would have to become a referendum before the citizens and voters of Northfield. Also, I just met with and joined with the committee members on the proposed Atlantic County Court System service. Let me just remind everyone that We have the support of Senator Chris Brown and President Sweeney from the Senate on proposing legislation to create this proposal. Right now, at the last meeting, there was several more communities. Of the 23 communities, I would say there's approximately 15 to 16 out of the 23 communities have had expressed interest or at least are involved in the committee reports on this proposal. Again, I don't have hard numbers, but there could be about a 30% savings to the city municipality, as well as some benefits. But once again, I will keep everyone abreast of the situation. And that brings before tonight we have, and I'm asking for your support for the resolution 65-2021. This is a resolution that the county would be using to apply for a $150,000 grant. In no way, shape, or form does it say that or require that Northfield will become part of the Atlantic County shared court system if it should come to fruition, but is only used to support that we are interested in doing and participating in the planning and researching of the proposal that's before the 23 municipalities. I would just, on a footnote, I would just ask everyone because of the construction, as they are entering and leaving through to City Hall, entrance is one way as well as the exit. I've seen several near misses of accidents where individuals are coming into City Hall in the parking lot and going back out in the entrance. You have to go all the way around. Obviously it's a one-way situation, but some people obviously are not aware of that, even though there are signs that indicate there is no proceeding. Thank you, Council President. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, I just have one question about the library meeting. In the emails, there were two dates, the 11th and the 9th.
That's correct. That was submitted as far as recommendations from the county to Aubrey,
Right.
our library director.
Have you
But because I just developed a conflict, we're making it the 9th,
Oh,
if
okay.
that is feasible.
Okay, so it's still kind of up in the air, but maybe the 9th.
Well, right now it's the 9th. If they can't make it, then we'll have to reschedule.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, in your endeavors to look at the way the library should go, would the control of the building be under the library, or would the citizens of Northfield still be able to utilize the auxiliary room that's there for, the school said we could, but we need insurance. Other organizations need insurance and all that type of thing. I think in your meeting, you should ask them what would be required of the average citizen if they don't, or on an agency of the city, could they still use the facility without insurance and the whole gamut of group of hold harmless and legal cat.
My initial conversation with Mr. DeRosa, the county administrator, is that the building would still obviously belong to the city of Northfield, and therefore they would be paying rent to the city. In terms of the availability of the building itself, I will check into that. I do understand that if there is any improvements, that we would have to approve it, and it would be at the expense of the county if they should wish, for example, to do some painting and maintenance and so forth, or any other type of renovations that thing and upkeep.
Yeah, it's the bureaucracy of being able to use it that concerns me. Once it's in the county's hands and under their control, their union staff, their management, their policies and procedures, I think should be looked at to the average citizen of Northfield. You can utilize that facility when asked. The back meeting room, that is, anybody be able to use the facility, but can a group come in and have exercise class like we have, and the seniors come in and meet whenever they want, and can the public have children hour, reading hours, and things of that nature? Who is in control of those activities? That's one of my concerns.
And I think one of your points is that was a facilities that we use for our senior citizen meetings. So, I will follow through with that.
All types of activities. That's what
I do know that I brought up the point about, some of these programs that we as a municipality are involved in, like special events and so forth. The county is open to that.
I would think that would be one of the things I would be concerned about in the final meetings that you have with them. What would be the protocol for public in Northfield to utilize the facility? Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, that's a very good point. Are we leasing would we be leasing the property to the county?
Well, the building would belong to the city, but they would be paying, a proposal is to pay rent for the city, or to the city for the library.
The back building could possibly be a stipulation of the lease, or the back room, or whatever. I mean, you could word this anyway. I mean, they may just say, okay, but it could be a stipulation of the lease as well.
Carve that out, you mean?
Yeah, right. And it's a good point to make.
The county tax on our library is on a separate line item, if I'm not mistaken. So technically, it will not reduce, it might make a savings, but the actual rate is still inclusive of our tax.
That's correct. And, regardless of whether we pay to the county or we maintain it, where we would be seeing, some savings. And again, don't hold me to the exact figure, but the staff would no longer become or be part of the city payroll system and all the other costs that are associated with these employees, health benefits and any kind of longevity and pensions and so forth. As far as the technology, I'll give you this one example. That would be the responsibility of the county as far as if they wanted to upgrade the computer system or internet services and such. So we would not have that bill. There'll be also with the books and the magazines and anything of that type of material where we purchase every year. That would no longer be our expense. We obviously will be part of if we became part of the county system, we would benefit from any other programs or any other benefits that the county offers throughout their entire system itself. So the big chunk of change, and I think we're paying about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, is about $300-some thousand right now, our contribution to the library mill?
That's about right.
Yeah. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry, Councilman.
Yes, to a certain extent. It still doesn't give me what the final protocol would be for the library. It was in the county hands. How
Yes.
As a municipality utilize that, I understand. I was here when it was presented before to go with the county. The amount of their rate at that time, means it was a union contract, was different than ours at that time. But I understand the policies that they have and the policies that we don't have as far as the structure and manpower. But it still has to go out to the public, and if this governing body decides that's so be it. But you have to weigh the odds of what the county's going to charge you, what they're going to lease is, and what the final dollar is. But it's supposed to be quality service. It's going to be the same as provided by our community.
Well, the county is not going to charge us any additional fees other than what we are required by statute. There are certain things that we will no longer be responsible for, and of course, with all due respect to the county, they have bigger financial pockets than we do as a municipality. So some of the benefits might be, some improvement that we can't afford within the city itself. I know, for example, in the past couple of years, the library was looking, the Board of Trustees was looking into terms of building and renovating the library, but we did not have the money, and we were looking to get going out for grants and so forth. That's one aspect that we were not able to do. And this might be something that the county, if, if they got involved, they might be able to improve in that respect if they wanted to go through that.
The county's tax rate is still our legacy.
Right.
Right. Regardless if they are part of our system or we are on our own. That's statutory.
Well, if more towns join that county, if more libraries join the county system, won't that rate increase? So it'll just come back on, we'll be collecting rent, but it's going to come back to us to our taxpayers on that rate. They have to pay for it somehow, so it's got to go to that rate.
I don't know if that would be a significant rate.
Well, not on that line item, but when you multiply it by the value of the city, I don't know that the savings will be to each, I don't know what savings each taxpayer will enjoy, but that rate, it'll get spread through all the towns. though.
It would be, right. It
It'll
would be
through
spread
all the
out.
towns, But likewise, if they do a major upgrade in the Mays Landing Library, that gets spread to all towns as well.
Yeah. Well, it's the same concept about, any kind of a shared service, whether it be our 911 or
Yeah.
our,
The rent we-
our
the rent we
EMS,
receive,
it's still, whether we have Linwood or Northfield or Egg Harbor Township, it still gets spread up and it comes back to us.
Yeah, the rent we receive will offset that, I
Yeah.
imagine. And that, the previous proposal was before we had that additional meeting room, before they did that construction.
Correct.
Okay.
I think at one point, and I was involved when I was a councilman, and Frankie, you might have been on there too, when at that time, Councilman Levinson brought up about the becoming part of the county system or having our own library. And, and I look back and reflect, our times back then was much different than they are today. We've made some great strides in technology and things that that we now have improved upon the library system that we didn't have back then. And it was much, in my opinion, the feasibility in maintaining our own library within our small municipality, I think was better to our advantage.
Yeah.
But things have changed. And just like any other bureaucracy, things have changed and we have to reevaluate, in terms of, as Councilman Perry pointed out, the legacy costs that's now involved, the factors of maintaining the building, as far as the technology or any other enhancements and benefits that we would put into the building, as well as any enhancements or benefits that we would have if we went with the county system, which is a much obviously larger system that is throughout the county of Atlantic.
Thank you. And any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, what, the meeting on the 9th, did you have a time for that?
I believe it was,
9:30?
Barbara, was it
No,
9:30?
9:30.
9:30 or 3:30?
The last I saw in the email was 9:30.
Okay.
Now, unless, I don't know if there's an update, but.
9:30 a.m., I
AM.
suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
AM.
Yeah,
Much to
yes,
my
yes.
chagrin.
9:30 p.m. would accommodate my schedule better.
Yeah.
I would simply suggest that, I know you include, I appreciate you including me as Chair of Shared Services on that. I don't know that I'll be able to attend a 9:30 a.m. meeting. But I would suggest that any member of council who has questions, obviously submit them. And, the mayor can relay those questions and get them addressed, hopefully. And obviously, once we have numbers and specifics, we can ask our CFO to conduct an analysis, a cost-benefit analysis. But, I'm curious and interested in seeing the results of something like that myself.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the engineer's report.
Thank you, Council President. Regarding Shepherd Drive and North Shepherd Drive, last Wednesday, I had a joint final inspection on the roads with Mr. Amin, who's from the NJDOT representative. We went through the site, everything was good. There's a couple little issues. He sent a report, but they found the project in substantial compliance, so we can move forward with closing out the project. Also today, I received the core sampling results from the lab. Everything is in accordance with the plans. We sent it up to the state, so within for the next meeting, I'm going to bring in the final change order for the project. And it appears it's going to be under budget by around $10,000. We haven't finished the number yet. So the project will come under budget. We need to get the final change order, send it up to the state to sign off on it. Then we can close out the project, get our final payment from the grant.
Good job.
On the municipal parking lot, the contract, we had the pre-construction meeting yesterday with Arawak, the contractor for the paving of the parking lot for this library and for the city hall. The tentative starting date, he indicated, will be March 21st, which should work out with the contractor who's doing the ramp. They started the foundation today. Finally, the weather broke and it's not freezing for the next few weeks. We'll be in good shape. They will finish the foundation and the slab by next Tuesday. And then when the ramp, it's a prefab ramp, when it comes in, they will install it. It takes a week. So they don't have a confirmed date on the delivery of the ramp yet, but we will have the slab in place so the paving could commence on the 21st. On that subject, the mayor requested that we pave a small section in that open area in the back, about 10 by 40. And that area would be used to have kind of a container. Maybe the mayor can talk about that a little bit more. I would need direction from council because I'm not sure if we have enough money in the budget to cover it, but if we have to pay it based on the line item, it would cost up to $1,000 extra on the contract. So maybe the mayor can discuss this with council and give me some direction. I need to let the contractor know if that is part of the project so I can send out a notice to them.
During our budget sessions, you recall that our CFO did indicate to her, and I told her that the cost of the container would be somewhere around, and I'm giving only an estimate, about $6,000. It might be a little bit less, it might be a little bit more. And she said that she did have the money in the budget that would provide for that expansion or for the purchase of a used container truck, which would be 40 feet by 8. This would replace the little shed that we have there. And I know Councilman Natara looked at it and saw, that is packed to the hilt with our municipal, with our bicycle patrol things and some other supplies. And then there's this, I don't know what you call it. It's some metal container from World War II that was being used to store some stuff in there. And I don't even know what's in there. That's the only storage area that we have, or containment that we have for the police department. And I just felt that it's not meeting the needs, and we have no way of storing. And I want to bring the motorcycle over here that we can store rather than leaving it over the garage and so forth. So my proposal, and I know council and the city would not be able to afford a new building or an area of that size. And so I looked into a storage container. And if some of you who are familiar with the Volunteer Fire Company over in Burton Avenue, they have a similar container unit that has lasted, I can't tell you, it's got to be well over 15 plus years, as long as I can remember, being a member of the Volunteer Fire Company, that has provided additional storage for them. And that will be the same format that I'm looking. In terms of my request to the engineer to look into some type of surface that would be able to maintain and that we can put the used container on there. And I think, and I may be wrong, but I think over, another possibility would be to put large gravel stones as a bed. But I just brought that up as far as the asphalt was concerned there.
We could do stone or gravel, but I mean, for the long term, it's better off to be asphalt. It's a good surface and it's cleaner.
Yeah.
So.
With all due respect, I don't have a problem with the pad down, but 40-foot metal container in residential area, I'm opposed to. Sorry, but I don't think our land use ordinance would allow it if it was in another area. But I just think that there should be a different for our aesthetics and conform with the other residential properties. We should have some better type of.
Well, that's all vegetative area there that's covered.
Well, it still bucks up to residential.
where are we looking at? In the back?
Back
of
corner.
Grass.
That
section back
corner.
there?
A shed, having a shed.
Yeah, maybe a
I
shed.
mean,
or a
I think
pad would be
a
nice.
shed, would be a bit, would look not much better than the metal container. I mean, I've seen the one at the firehouse, and I know you said it could be painted and whatnot, but I just think over time it's going to be an eyesore. I certainly don't have a problem with putting a shed back there, but I do have a problem with the metal storage container.
Well, if council would be willing to purchase a shed around 40 feet or somewhere around that, I'd be more than happy to take that. I have no
40
problems with
feet
that.
is necessary. How much stuff did it have stored in there, Dave?
Beg pardon?
How much stuff is stored in there?
Oh, it's packed, but there's not 40 feet.
I mean,
worth.
is the stuff that they need?
Well, like for example, the bicycles that they use for patrol, they do need that.
Well, I get that. I'm talking to Dave because you said he looked at it. So
Well,
what,
maybe what we can do is we could do an inventory and see what we actually need and then go from there. I'd be willing to help out and figure it out.
If I owned these houses behind here, I wouldn't want that 40-foot container.
No,
I'm in
I
agreement
wouldn't
with you.
either, but
fenced or not?
I think that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah,
Fenced or
I-
not?
Point.
I
don't know that-
agree, but
don't
a
know
nice
that that's
shed.
Fair to the neighbors to have that.
Well, I have no problems with a shed, but I'm not going to support if council wants to buy an 8x6 shed.
I'm not suggesting an
Yeah,
8x6 shed.
Well, I'm not saying you suggest it. I'm just telling
Yeah,
you
but there are
that if
10
council wanted to purchase a 6x8 shed, for example, I think we're defeating the whole purpose.
I don't think size is really even an issue right now. I think we should see what we need. We'll talk to the chief. We'll see what's out there and we'll go from there. I mean, there's plenty of room back there. We can make it nice. We could buffer it with plants. And
As
and
chairman,
call it a
as
day.
chair of Buildings and Grounds, I'll talk to chief tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him.
And you have commercial setbacks also.
Yeah.
Between property lines and other issues with drainage and things of that nature that you have to adhere to. You just can't plop it on somebody's property line, just be so many feet away. And, we do have a sensitive area back there with the golf course and things of that nature.
There's a size ordinance to shed versus garage too. So, at some point you cross the line. And I think 40 feet is definitely crossing the line from shed to garage. So I think we just try to figure it out. And
Well,
figure
I
it
will
out.
just say this, I don't have any problems, okay?
We'll
I
figure it out.
brought this up some time ago in discussion, and I don't have any objections to the criticism and concerns that you have today. But this was brought up during our budget hearing. I mentioned about purchasing something of that nature.
We brought
All
up
right.
2 years ago, we turned it down.
Beg pardon?
It was brought up last year, we turned it down as well, Erlen.
Well, I understand that, but are you saying that because you turned it down that I can't do this anymore? I can't, the truck that you're buying right now that we just purchased, that's been brought up before and was turned down. Now we got it. All right? So I don't think anything wrong that if anyone wants to bring something that's been rejected, bring it back and up again, everyone has that right. Now, if council doesn't want it, then tell me. All right? Let me finish. As I said, if council has any objections and doesn't want something that nature, that's fine. But I'm bringing forth a problem that I have and concern. Now, if there's criticisms or there is suggestions, that's wonderful, and I've already gone on record.
We have a suggestion.
We are making suggestions.
We have a
Storage-
suggestion on the table.
Yeah.
We're gonna evaluate the size of
right, we're gonna
the size of
inventory what they need.
construction that we need, and we'll look at doing something that's more appropriate than
For
a
sure.
shipping container. Councilwoman Madden, you had
Yes,
something to say?
from a woman's point of view, and I just mentioned something. I think I saw a picture of those containers, and I do believe that architects have made houses out of them, and with a little imagination, they were really pretty fantastic. I don't think it's a bad idea, and I don't think you can get a shed that size for $6,000. And I think with a little creativity, and maybe if we have any artists in this community, that it could be painted with a beautiful scene on it and really made to look quite nice, and with some landscaping. I think it has a lot of possibility.
I know Councilman DeWeese brought up that he thought it aesthetically did not look nice. And my plan was, and of course, this is all dependent upon if the budget passed and we had the money, was to get it painted appropriately, not a color that's going to be standing out, that would blend within the foliage and vegetation area. Plants, I think someone even suggested, plant some shrubbery around it and cover that area up there. And I understand, I hear Councilman Perry's concerned about any type of zoning or anything of that nature that might be affected. And that's fine. I don't have any problems. I mean, you know, this is why it's up for discussion and so forth. But my main concern, again, is storage. We in the police department have no storage area, all right? We are busting at the seams in some respects for many departments as far as the storage. Where are we putting this stuff? Now, let's take this in concept. We have a police department right next door, all right? Where do you think they're storing a lot of their equipment or supplies and so forth? In those little rooms, if you've ever been there. It's somewhat limited. And over the years, as the mayor, when looking at the situation that we had over here where we were storing our equipment for the police department, I just thought it was getting to a point where I needed to do something. In the last storm, we had I believe a Rubbermaid or something outside the side here for storage of some equipment, a little storage shed. It blew away from the storm, okay? We have over here, the fire department, they had a shed there that is starting to rot and deteriorate. And I believe we have a resolution on here. But as a result, when the bicycles and the generator was put in this little storage area, there was no other area that we had. It was jammed. I don't know if you've ever seen when we had the auction before the auction of the bicycles, that little room is jam-packed with bicycles. You'd be amazed how many bikes we find that are stolen or lost or left behind. Now that we have cleared the generator and some of the other equipment that we now moved over to the Public Works Department, all that material and supplies or whatever in that shed that the fire department was using all these years has now been removed and has been put into that room that we had the generator. Now we can take away the shed, and I believe again in the resolution that someone wants to take the shed. Now we've taken that eyesore that's rotten, all right, and we're going to remove it from the parking lot. Now it's opening up more space. But more importantly, we've gotten rid of an eyesore, in my opinion, that's dilapidated and rotten wood and whatever, that's going to be gone. So if we were talking about aesthetic value, we're getting rid of that piece of junk out there.
Council President, I will get a hold of Chief Newman tomorrow and find out what their storage needs are.
Right, okay, if we can do that and by the next council meeting so that we can, if we need to,
Will do.
figure out how to pay for the additional asphalt and what the cost of that'll be.
Thank you.
Because our next meeting,
The 16th.
16th, and then the 21st is when paving is going to begin. Is that enough time to
That's enough time.
make an adjustment?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Just a question, Mr. DeWeese, the section where the old one was from World War II, that couldn't have another shed put in there? Or we don't have
What was that for?
The place where the one up the building here, the World War II one that's going to be eliminated, is that going to or something? I was talking about that.
Yeah, what's in that? Is there anything?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've never been into it, but it's sitting there, and I know it's from World War II communications thing.
I hope there's no ordinance in there.
I'll take a look. Thank you.
The last item I want to discuss is our 2020 local road program. The contractors started the drainage improvements along Maple. They should be done by Thursday. They will do the paving, and we are going to let the area sit for 60 days before we pave for proper settlement. Also, as you know, that Birch Grove Park Road, majority of that is on our private property, the Public Works Building. And the water company, their main is on our property. So I had a meeting with Tim Green from New Jersey American Water Company last week and determined that location where they have to relocate their water main. And I explained to him that this should be done within a month because we are looking to move forward with our paving program by the summer. And he got back with me, said they're going to work with the contractor so that that would get resolved. So they will move their water line or the water main from our property onto the existing right of way. So that's been handled also. That's my report.
Thank you. Any other questions for the engineer?
I just had, Rami, we're talking about the 2020 local road paving program. I'm just wondering, I remember last year seeing something about 2021. Do we have recommendations for the next local road paving
I haven't
program?
started, but we can start on that. We can have the discussion with and any council member finds road that needs of repaving or reconstruction, please bring it to my attention. I'll compile a list for discussion for the next couple months.
Thank you.
Ron, I have a question about the Shepherd Drive project.
Yes, sir.
You recall the resident that complained about her driveway being chipped and
Yeah.
some drainage problems? Looking at that driveway, the driveway looks to me like it was set to grade. And my question is, if you set that driveway to level where it has a bit of a reveal, could that eliminate a little bit of water backing up to her driveway?
But the water's gonna sit in the street. The problem is the whole area was completely flat. Actually, it was pitched backward. So that area was historically very low and held water all the time. So by the time we raised the street, we couldn't raise it more than 6 inches. Otherwise, you'll affect the residents on the other end, closer to the bend. We end up raising the road there almost 7 inches. For us to have proper pitch, that road should have been raised almost a foot. And that would create more problems for the residents' front yard. Then you'll have a road higher than their yard. And the slope we have is like 0.3%. So we were not able to eliminate every drainage problem, but that area is just, unfortunately, it's there. I'll look at the apron to see if we can raise it without creating a back pitch onto their apron or on the driveway, because the whole driveway is kind of flat in that area.
Okay.
So I'll take a look at that. If that's possible, we can do that and maybe eliminate some of the problem, but water's still gonna sit in front of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Deweese. Thank you, Ron. Any other questions? Okay, at that, we will open the public session. At this time, the meeting is open to the public. For anyone wishing to speak on any subject, please state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker. One there.
I don't know.
She's first on, she's on deck if she wishes.
I don't have her as a call-in. Mrs. Toland, I do see you in the Zoom queue, but I don't see that you telephoned in. Did you wish to make a comment, Mrs. Toland?
Hello?
Is that Mrs. Toland?
Yes, it is. Yay! Oh my God, I don't believe this. You spent more time trying to get a hold of me than anything else. My name is Eileen Tolland. I live at 4304 Dolphin Avenue in the great city of Northfield. 21 million background checks were done in the year 2020. That's an increase of over 8 million over the year 2019. No wonder gun violence was up all over the country. In New Jersey, gun deaths were up by about 21% in 2020. Did you know that 60% of the suicides in New Jersey were due to guns? And also the same percentage of domestic violences involved guns. I'm not talking about criminals. These are guns that are in homes. How many New Jersey residents would still be alive if it wasn't for a gun? This resolution is a moot point since the city has no legal right to change any laws about guns. There should be this should be put on the ballot as a question to let the voters of Northfield decide what they wanted to do. Isn't it funny that the people who spoke in favor of this tonight were all from towns other than Northfield?
Yes.
I didn't get her name, but the woman that was from Atlantic Highlands, I have just one thing to say after her speech, and that was that guns still kill. And the man from EHT, it was very difficult to hear what they were saying, but I picked up something about a Mr. Parker and wanting to teach, or something about kids that are 4 years old and in different levels of ages. And it seemed to me as though they wanted to train kids that were that young on gun safety. I have a granddaughter who's 4, and I just could not even imagine that. Is this the same Mr. Parker who is running for a seat on the commissioner's board? And I have one other thing to say, and that is to Mrs. Nickerson, that you really didn't have to thank Mr. Notaro for bringing this to City Council, since he is part of your organization. But it really was delightful to see that Mr. Notaro finally took the crossed guns that cover the seal of the city off his Facebook site. It almost makes you seem like an angel, except for I compare it to the night after a freeholders meeting last year, when you actually threatened me on Facebook.
I did.
Yes.
When did I do that? Could you elaborate?
I have the screenshot. I'll be happy to send it to you. You all held up your hands and you swore to uphold the Constitution. By voting against the Constitution sort of makes you liars. So maybe you want to consider this before you vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council President, can I ask a
Yes,
question? And I read this resolution that Mr. Notaro and Mr. Rutz helped create or draft. I don't see anywhere, and maybe you can explain to me, is there somewhere in that resolution, proposed resolution, that you want to change the Constitution?
No. We're just supporting the Constitution of the United States of America. That's it. Nothing more,
And
nothing less.
Mrs. Tolland brought a very concerning matter that I just heard. Are you encouraging, in terms of education,
We are.
4-year-old children?
No.
Because I don't think that a 4-year-old child, I would want to have them taught how to use a
What?
gun. I mean, let alone
That
to be
was
legally
part of the
allowed.
public session.
That was
That was part of the public session during the work session. A
Okay,
gentleman
I'm
spoke
sorry.
about a
Some
program that
some people choose to raise their children the way they want to raise their children. That's
All
their
right,
God-given
okay.
right. And, me personally, I don't know if I would do that, but you know what? I mean, I respect their opinion, just like I respect his opinion and everybody's opinion. And I would expect the same in return with this. So, it is what it is. And we're not a bunch of crazy people here. We're just trying to uphold the Constitution, and that's it. Nothing more and nothing less.
Well, I see,
and-
number one, as all of us know in the mechanics of our government, that this is a resolution. This is not an ordinance. We are not enforcing anyone to change the Constitution or our rights. This resolution is just a statement that whoever votes in favor of it, of what they support, and whether it be you like it or I don't like it, that's our own opinion, and we have that choice. But I don't see this resolution as saying that this is going to become a law. This is only a vocal point of opinion that the council wishes to support or not support.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I think that it does state that if legislation was changed, we would not approve that legislation.
We would not approve it.
We'd have the opportunity if it was some kind of ludicrous law.
I'm going to tell you what it says.
Yeah,
It
no,
says any
that's fine.
legislation.
Uh-huh.
Well,
And it also says, that, the Second Amendment is one of many that we take an oath of office to support, and basically the laws of government. And we were working parameters of law, if something would change and we had to say, well, somebody comes back to me and says, well, you oppose this, I think my right as a councilman would be changed in parameters of law that I voted on something that I agreed to.
Okay. But obviously, something of that level, and then with all due respect, with our limitations of power, we can't change at our level, something that is statutory or federal. All right. But I certainly agree with
You are opposing anything from that level.
Beg pardon?
You are opposing in this letter to the public that you oppose anything of the state legislature or the federal legislature in the future.
That infringes on the Second
But what
Amendment.
is wrong with whether you support or oppose? I mean, we've done a lot of resolutions where we support or we, agree to legislation.
I don't remember any that states the Constitution of the state of New Jersey, United States that we passed. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I didn't say about the Constitution, but I said
I'm talking
we
about
have.
this piece of paper for this 64/2021. I'm talking about that. If I'm going to be called to the carpet a year from now and say, well, you agreed, they changed this legislation, now we don't want you to enforce it in the community of Northfield, that creates a problem for me as an elected official. I think as the office, I'm not going to go against the government of the United States. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not suggesting you go against the government, okay? And certainly, we are all here,
Well, that would have
we
to-
can either vote it up or vote it
Says
down.
some laws.
Well, wouldn't it-
It's not
We've
all
had
laws.
so much time on this issue, taking away from the public in a pandemic. It is unbelievable. This has taken hundreds of hours of our time looking at it. And I'm sorry, I've got other issues. I'm a law-abiding gun owner. I've been all my life, but I'm not going to put my name to this ordinance, to this resolution. I'm sorry.
Hey, Frank, I haven't even spent 100 hours on this, and I'm the one putting it together. So 100 hours is a little bit of a, you're over exaggerating.
I'll change my statement.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I
You're missing
appreciate
the
that.
point,
But-
Mr. Notaro.
What's that?
You're missing the point, I think. of
Oh,
what
no, I'm
Mr.
not. I'm
Perry
not
was
missing the
trying to say.
point. The point is that that you want to make it seem like we're wasting a lot of time and a lot of assets and money on something that you are bringing such a negative attention to. Absecon, a 99% Democrat council passed it.
Yeah. Take the politics out of it. If you want
This
to
isn't
make this a
Absecon.
political issue come election time or something, so be it.
Well, I'm not trying to do that.
Well, I agree with Frank that it should be a political issue, it's just,
Language here, I work in parameters of law. I've been in politics for a long time. I'm not a citizen. I'm not an average citizen. I'm an elected official. I agree to the oath of office that I took. And I'm not going to change whether you think that this is a touchy feel good thing for gun owners. I'm sorry. I'm still going to the parameter of law, and that's it. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
And you know what? I respect your opinion.
Thank you.
I really do.
yeah, and I agree with Frank. I mean, this is not a political issue, whether it be Democrat or Republican or independent. It's an issue that, and I think I see many of us are concerned about how many hours and how much time we have spent discussing this matter. And I think the bottom line is this, and Councilman Perry's brought up his point, and Councilman Notaro's brought up his point. We have the resolution before us, we vote it up or down, period. Okay? And
Thank
let's move forward. And we have, as Frank said, we have a lot of other issues and problems that we need to address.
Either you're for it or you're against it.
Well, that's what we're here. We're here to vote on it later. Okay.
Can I ask Councilman Perry, I don't know if it's the term opposed to any legislation, would the insertion of the word proposed legislation make a difference?
Do you realize what predicament it puts you in the future, depending how it's written?
Well, that's what I'm addressing. I'm asking if insertion of the word proposed, not actual legislation, but proposed legislation might make a difference in that, because I don't think anyone here is going to support going against any state or federal law that is passed dutifully.
I'm sorry, I just don't wanna-
I think, in my understanding of it, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that we would be expressing our opposition to any proposed legislation that would inhibit Second Amendment rights, not necessarily opposing
Wouldn't,
legislation that exists or would exist in the future.
wouldn't legislation have to be amended to the Constitution to override the Second Amendment?
Or import. Or import. You would have to change the Constitution through legislation, or you would have to appeal to the court, to the Supreme Court. And
I think the gentleman
Well, it's
from
not about-
Linwood pointed that out, how
Yeah.
dangerous that wording is.
Or it actually could be a blessing, because if you have the power to oppose something that's totally ludicrous, it gives the people of this country somewhat of a mouthpiece, somewhat of a, a power to stop certain legislation. So maybe it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise, what he said. Hey,
you
it's
still
just my
take-
opinion.
You still take an oath of office with the Constitution.
I get it, and I am.
And the government. So,
I am, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Any other persons from the public wishing to speak?
I have someone telling me that Assemblyman Mazzio is trying to get on Zoom but can't, but I can't control someone not being able to access it. I just typed in where to find the Zoom information, so we'll give him a moment and see if, once he locates that, if he is successful in logging on.
Come on up while we're waiting. It's, the public session's open.
Thank you. Again, yes, my name is Sandy Peterson. I live at 210 Upland Avenue, Absecon. And I just wanted to reiterate that, yes, this is a nonpartisan issue, and we're talking about this resolution and legislation. This resolution is a resolution. It's not an ordinance. It doesn't change any existing laws. We are law-abiding citizens. We support the law. We don't break the laws. This resolution is to help stop upcoming laws. If we're not successful, we're not successful. We're not going to break the law. This doesn't ask anyone to break the law. We're not, right? We're law-abiding citizens. We support the Second Amendment. We want laws that fall under the Second Amendment, that support the Second Amendment. We want to stop laws that don't support the Second Amendment. Does that make sense? Like, I don't understand. I know it's a touchy subject and everyone's heated about it, and I do very much appreciate everyone's time and effort and thought. We're law-abiding. We support the law. This does not change the laws, but the upcoming laws is what we're concerned about. And we can stop them now while they're a bill before they become law. That's what we want to do. So we're not breaking any law. Again, thank you, David. Just for the record, David is not a part of our organization. I don't know why anyone thought that, but he is not a part of my little group that, we're advocates. We're just people, everyday citizens, law-abiding citizens. We have a passion for the Second Amendment and upholding our rights. And we got together, we're friends now, and we do. I'm here, yes, I live in Absecon, but I live in Atlantic County, and I am a representative with the Garden State Second Amendment grassroots organization, and that's why I'm here. Even though I don't represent Northfield, I'm representing Atlantic County, and I'm representing law-abiding citizens who cannot be here or don't even know that their rights are being infringed upon.
Sandy?
So that's what this is about, but I wanted to bring up, again, this one line in the resolution as it is written, Resolution 64-2021. I would ask that you would strike the line there where it talks about the fire manufacturers, to strike that out. But I hope that I was able to make things a little bit clearer if there was any kind of miscommunication or misunderstanding. Again, if you have any questions, we're here.
I do. The gentleman that was sitting right here in front of me,
Yes,
What-
Dave Walsh.
where does he live?
He lives in Northfield. I don't know his exact address, but he lives in Northfield.
I just wanted that on record.
Thank you. And one other thing real quick, to bring up, Mr. Dominic Braca that was here. He talked about, teaching firearms to 4-year-olds. It's not about teaching gun safety, to 4-year-olds. What it is the NRA has an Eddie the Eagle program. Eddie Eagle, he teaches little tots, stop. If you see a firearm, if you see a gun, stop. Don't touch, run away, tell an adult. That is the firearm teaching to a 4-year-old.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And immediately, it's a negative. When you say 4-year-old and gun safety, it's immediately negative, and you need to get the information before you speak. And sometimes it's not so negative, or it's
Right. Thank you.
Has Assemblyman Mazzio been able to? sign
No,
in?
but I don't remember who the person is who is GS2AGO in the Zoom queue. And yes, I'm well aware of what it stands for, but that's how they're identified in the Zoom queue. So I don't know who that person is.
Shelley Kennedy.
She needs to identify herself. Okay, ma'am, you're unmuted.
Yes, hello. This is Shelley Kennedy, Atlantic Highlands. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about, I didn't mean to make it so difficult to know who I am, but anyway, thank you for allowing me to speak again. I commend this governing body for taking up this resolution and for the robust debate on the council. I appreciate it. This is a topic that is worth discussing. It is very important. I'd like to go back to a topic that has already been discussed and maybe go at it from a different point. Why a resolution? A resolution, in this case, this resolution is non-binding. It expresses the sense of the governing body to support a certain position or philosophy. Here, in this case, the resolution expresses the sense of the governing body to support the law of the land, the Constitution. There's no wording in the resolution that attempts to change law. In fact, it states that you want to uphold the law. By passing this resolution, you stand for civil rights. You affirm the rights of disaffected communities. You stand for the supreme law of the land, and you stand in favor of holding accountable those who break the law. It's important to know that among industrialized nations, the US, as of April 2019, which is the last year I have statistics available for, we were 12th in the world in mass shootings among industrialized nations. Now, that's down from the year before. Every year, 4,000 people, including children, die from texting while driving. A leading cause of death among people under 18 is automobile accidents. Yet we're not calling for banning cars because we realize the behavior of the individual is the problem, not the inanimate object. Don't blame the tool. Guns have been around for hundreds of years, but only in the past 2 or 3 decades have they become considered, quote, a problem, close quote. Perhaps guns are not a problem. A culture where the threat of punishment no longer deters criminals may be the problem. Consider locations like Venezuela, Australia, Chicago, and London, where tight gun control is the rule. Even these draconian levels of regulation do not stop gun crime. The solution is not tighter laws on the law-abiding. It is prosecution of criminals under existing laws and swift justice, which incarcerates those found guilty. Thank you again for your time this evening. I hope you vote in favor of the resolution.
Thank you.
Okay, so I believe Amanda Minerick would like to speak. Amanda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Are you able? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I wanted to, again, bring up the question of why the city of Northfield would like to align itself with other states and counties throughout the country that has adopted similar resolutions and they are now refusing to uphold federal gun laws. I know various public speakers have mentioned that we are not other places, but it's very important to follow trends. And it's very important that through this resolution, we are aligning ourselves with these areas. So even if the wonderful officers and sheriffs in Atlantic County do not refuse to uphold federal gun laws, we are still aligning ourselves with areas that do. Why is that something that is being pushed so hard? Again, you are all members of a governing body. You have sworn to uphold the Constitution. We know this. It is a fact. That is what you were elected to do. To insinuate that Second Amendment rights are in danger and need to be singled out, that you do support them, and again, that Northfield will oppose any legislation that may have the effect of infringing upon one's Second Amendment rights, is dangerous. We all know that in this country, intent is what matters. We live in a country where litigation is easy and expensive for municipalities. What is to stop, even if the state level and the city level officers continue to uphold gun laws? What is to stop someone else seeing that Northfield is a gun sanctuary that opposes anything that could possibly infringe upon my rights and come into the city, break laws, get arrested, sue us, cause damage to someone, sue whomever? This is not something that needs to be done. I know Mr. Notaro said, or Councilman Notaro said, that it hasn't taken much time. Just tonight, this meeting is 2 hours and 40 minutes. I mean, it is taking up time. It's not something that should be rushed through like this. It's not something that supports the residents of Northfield. It has no way to help us. The city of Northfield cannot oppose any gun laws. It cannot give, as Mr. Councilman Notaro stated, it does not give the residents a voice. The city of Northfield cannot oppose gun laws. Individuals can do that, and I encourage them to. I encourage this debate. But the city of Northfield has no place to make resolutions stating that they will oppose laws. That is not how it works. I'd like to ask if Mr. Notaro was aware of the various counties and states that have stopped enforcing federal gun laws after imposing these resolutions.
No, I don't. And if you could tell me some of those laws that they stopped opposing, I would love to hear about it.
Yes, generally it is red flag laws, universal background checks, and bans on assault rifles. The 8 counties in Oregon have all refused to uphold those. In Culpeper County, Virginia, they are refusing universal background checks, and they are also deputizing any citizen that would like to be deputized. The sheriff said that he would happily deputize thousands of people so that they can enjoy all of the same gun carrying laws that a deputy would receive. In Colorado, they are refusing to, the laws just passed. I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but you can look it up. There are several sheriffs in Colorado, several sheriffs in Albuquerque and the San Juan area of New Mexico who are refusing to uphold newly passed gun laws. Washington State is refusing to run any background checks. And Fayette and York County, Pennsylvania are other ones that are refusing to uphold gun laws. I don't specifically know which ones those are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Anyone else from the public?
Eric Leeds, 802 Deborah Street in Northfield. I know that speaking with both Councilman Notaro and Palestina last year, they both supported the rights of people and to have the Second Amendment rights. There was a thing to say not many Northfield people supported it, but I want to remind you, 2,732 people in Northfield supported this last election day, and hopefully we'll do it again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any- Assembly Mazio
I-
make it in yet?
The person who made the comment about Assemblyman Mazzio has not responded. He made that comment at 8:23.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the Zoom chat or anywhere in Zoom if you'd like to comment by telephone who would wish to speak during the public session? I'm going to say there's no
Okay.
one else.
Okay. With that, the public session is now closed. We'll move on to the resolutions. Any other, any discussion before we do that on the resolutions by council? Before we, thank you. Councilwoman
I do have
Madden,
something to say about the resolution we pulled. Should I do it now or after?
this is the time.
Okay, then I will speak now. Regarding the infamous resolution on the table tonight. First of all, this is not about New Jersey, Atlantic County, Absecon, Egg Harbor. This is about Northfield. And a lot of people here that were in favor or from outside our community. The Second Amendment Sanctuary, which is what this organization was called previously, came before the council to present their case. This never went to resolution, and there's a reason for that. This organization, a different name, which sounds like you're protecting bunnies, actually. Garden State Second Amendment Grassroots Organization, which was formerly known as the Second Amendment Sanctuary, still known as that in the state of Texas. It's an organization, it's a lobbyist organization. It's similar to the NRA. And as reiterated again by Ms. Hickerson, they want to stop upcoming laws. They lobby in Washington and Trenton to oppose any laws that have the ability to potentially save hundreds of lives. Can everybody hear me, by the way, on Zoom and everybody else?
They have
everywhere
not
else?
said they haven't, so I'm going to say
Good.
yes.
I'm going to keep talking. Laws that would help quell the violence and mass shootings this country has endured. I don't believe this is what, from what I've heard from a lot of the people that came to speak, Northfield residents, by the way, this is not what Northfield wants. I don't think this is a resolution that would make Northfield proud, and I think it's also a dangerous resolution, as Councilman Perry pointed out. It is wrong to support an organization that defends weapons of mass destruction too frequently used in the killing of children and adults in our recent past, and will surely be used again if laws are not enacted. And this organization wants to stop, quote, stop upcoming laws from being passed. And they're not ridiculous laws or absurd laws. In today's paper, there was just how New Jersey gun laws work, and we are rated A. The Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence rates the quality of comprehensiveness for gun laws in different states, looking at the strength and state gun laws and comparing them to gun death rates. According to the group, New Jersey's gun laws get an A. And I hope New Jersey continues to do that. What we need is more federal laws to this effect. As an elected official, we are stewards of the city of Northfield, sworn to protect and serve its citizens. This resolution does neither. To pass this would reflect poorly on us. And I did save this article about the anniversary, the Parkland anniversary, where our president is calling for tougher gun laws, and we need tougher federal gun laws. And, you know, I hear stories like, oh, it's not the gun, it's the people. Well, let me tell you something. If these people didn't have guns in their hands, maybe this wouldn't have happened. A former student of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas opened fire on campus with an AR-15 rifle, killing several. When the gunfire ended, 14 students and 3 staff members were dead and 17 others wounded. You know, by the way, all of these mass shootings, the guns were legally purchased. Also, that's just one. Of course, Sandy Hook is the one that tears at my heart with the 6 and 7-year-olds. And the ironic thing is the mother of the man that shot these people had purchased an AR-15 legally, and the first person the son shot was her. And then he went on to kill 6 and 7-year-olds and their teachers. Virginia Tech shootings in 2007 had claimed 32 lives. Also, the nightclub in Orlando killing 49 people. Mass shootings have galvanized gun control advocates, and then that's what the purpose of this organization is for, to lobby against gun laws that will help save hundreds of lives. And again, I iterate, as elected officials, to do this, to pass this resolution, which also is very flawed in its wording, would be so wrong for the citizens of Northfield. And I think many of the people that have called in have reflected my feelings and my thoughts in the same way. Thank you.
Any others?
Yeah, I
Did
would.
you have did you have a
Yeah,
change to?
I'd like to take Brian's suggestion and put proposed legislation in this, and also strike on the whereas paragraph number 5. I'd like to strike recognizes that the burden of product liability belongs on the firearm manufacturers and the irresponsible
Which is it?
firearms use and ownership.
That's the only sensible sentence in this resolution.
And in that 5th paragraph, the reason is because manufacturers shouldn't be responsible for how, people use the
Why
tools
not?
provided.
Why not, Mr. Notaro? Why not?
Well, because it's up to them to get the proper education. It's up to them as responsible gun owners to get the proper education. I mean,
It's gun manufacturers
why would
that-
you,
that-
if I bought a gun, okay,
Drive the
and I went
NRA.
outside and I just started shooting at the walls and I shot out tires, and is it the gun manufacturer's fault that I did that? Or is it my
Maybe
fault?
if the gun manufacturers were held responsible, things would be a little different.
Okay, so we're going to hold the gun manufacturers
You should have
at
the
fault
ability to sue
for
them.
something like that.
All right, let's
No.
just make the
Sorry.
changes and we'll move on to,
Could I speak?
yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm almost sorry that I asked questions last time when this first came up. Maybe it would be behind us already. But as far as the gun manufacturers being held liable, I think it's probably the only product that is not held liable for the product. One of the reasons we have improvements in auto safety is not because the government made the rules, it's because lawyers sued the car companies, and the car companies recognized that in order to avoid these lawsuits, they had to make their products safer. Hundreds and hundreds of guns end up in the wrong hands. In fact, New Jersey's, most of the guns that are used in crimes in New Jersey aren't sold in New Jersey. They're sold from states down south or even Pennsylvania. And if the gun manufacturers had trigger locks or better management of their inventory, perhaps we wouldn't have all the gun deaths, 32,000 gun deaths that we have in this country. To Ms. Kennedy's point for Atlantic Highlands, who says we're now number 12 in mass shootings, I'm sure that's not a lot of consolation to the parents of people that lost their children to guns that were bought by responsible gun owners, but ended up in the wrong hands. So I think product liability for gun manufacturers and for guns that end up in the wrong hands is a key part, which is why I was going to work with Dave to try to amend this resolution, which again, I'm an advocate for better gun control. It's been expressed that she said it's a civil right, and that's true, but it's a human right to own guns. But the fact of the matter is, the United States far outstrips most of the world in gun deaths. And the reason is because we have so many, because they're so available, because they're not managed properly. So to say we're 12 from mass shootings, and I think we're second in terms of gun deaths overall per capita, clearly this country has a gun problem. And standing up and saying we're going to oppose any legislation, to me, and I have to say, the Attorney Elliott, who came and spoke about some of this wording and opposing, and backed up by Councilman Perry, I have to say, changing it to proposed, it doesn't do it for me. And taking out product liability, I think, that was the only reason I even agreed to look at this. Number one should be cited as a public health issue that the CDC fully investigates. The NRA has managed to block that. And gun manufacturers and people whose guns are misused should absolutely be held liable, should have to insure themselves accordingly and affect their product accordingly.
Stricter penalties would be the solution for that.
It
Well,
should be like any other
right.
product, if it's misused, however it's misused, whether it's the gun owner or the manufacturer should be able to be sued. And so I'll be opposing the legislation. That's all I'm going to say, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one other thing I want to add, I constantly hear these phrases, lawful gun ownership, infringing on the rights of law-abiding citizens. These cliches are wearing a little thin in the light of the mass shootings and the things that have happened in this country in the recent past and will sure to happen in the future. At the time the Second Amendment was written, it was written in the 1700s, and the weapon of choice was a musket, not an AK-15. And we have to move with the times, seriously. I mean, the Constitution is a living document that has to recognize the mores of the times. And to say to be opposed to gun laws and to stop any future gun laws is ludicrous.
So you're saying that you don't want AK-15s anymore? Is that what you're saying?
What do you do with it? Go and shoot it at a
I don't know.
cardboard cutout of a person and to shoot at it? You don't go deer hunting with it, do you? Because you wouldn't be able to eat your meat. What do you do? What is the purpose of an AK-15 other than in the
But what a
hands
legal
of a
gun owner
military
does with his
person?
AK-15,
Beg your pardon?
his AK-15, what he does with his AK-15 is it's his prerogative. If he
That's all you can
misuses
say.
it, he
Okay,
should go to
that's all.
jail.
I have nothing more to say.
Thank you. Okay. We'll vote on this with taking out that last line and this will fall where it falls. The last line, number 3.
I'm going to recommend that
Yes, sir.
somebody make a motion to amend Resolution 64, 2021, set forth the amendments proposed that would need to be seconded and voted upon. If that motion to amend passes, then you would have to vote on 64 as amended in due course.
I'll make the necessary motion to amend Resolution 64, 2021, inserting proposed legislation in
Hold on a
paragraph,
second. Chris, are you going to get that for me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
inserting proposed legislation in paragraph 3.
So that it reads, as opposed to any proposed legislation that could have the effect.
Correct.
Okay.
And striking the last sentence of paragraph 5, recognizes that the burden of the product liability belongs on the firearms manufacturer and irresponsible firearm use and ownership.
You're going to strike the third little I, so that paragraph will end with Second Amendment rights.
Correct.
Okay. And did you want to alter little I2 to add the word proposed as well?
Yes.
And do you want to, I'm just looking for anywhere else where it says opposes any legislation, that would be in the, now therefore be it resolved. Second sentence, second line of that paragraph as well.
Yes.
Good. Is that the extent of your motion?
I think that's it.
Is
Second.
there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Favor?
Let's
Roll
do
call?
roll. Yeah, it's two, yeah.
We'll have to do a roll call for that one.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden,
Since I oppose the amendment, I'm going to abstain from any kind of changes to it. I mean, since I oppose the resolution,
Okay.
I must
Okay.
abstain.
That's fine.
Okay.
Abstain.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
No.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Rutz,
No.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
That is 4 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The motion to amend has passed.
Okay.
Council President, while we're on it.
Yes.
Do you just want to move forward with the vote on the adoption as amended at this point?
Yes.
Is the discussion over?
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, let's move on with, let's do that.
I'm assuming discussion was over. I'm not trying to take any time.
I think it was. I think it was.
Should we start
Councilman
with,
Notaro, would you
should
like-
we start with 64, 2021, or do we have to?
Yes.
Right.
For right now, we'll-
I'd like to make the necessary motion to adopt, I'm sorry, Resolution 64, 2021, as amended. Pardon?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden,
No.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
No.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Rutz,
No.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
That is 4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, to the resolutions.
I'd like to make a motion to vote by consent agenda for Resolutions 57, 2021 through 62, 2021, and
63.
I'm sorry, 63, 2021, and 65, 2021 to 66, 2021.
Prior to that, I'd like to read 66 into the record with your permission, Council President.
Please, thank you.
Resolution 66, 2021 is a resolution extending a contract with Tri-Care Medical Transportation for shared emergency services in the city of Linwood and the city of Northfield. It reads, whereas on February 28, 2021, the term of a shared service agreement between the cities of Linwood and Northfield, here in after the cities, and Tri-Care Medical Transportation for the provision of shared emergency medical services ended. And whereas the cities of Linwood and Northfield are desirous of extending said agreement for an additional period of 90 days commencing March 1, 2021 at a cost of $5,000 per month to the city of Northfield and $5,000 per month to the city of Linwood for a total of $10,000 per month. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Northfield that contingent upon the City of Linwood also approving said extension, the agreement for basic life support for shared emergency medical services in the cities of Linwood and the City of Northfield be and is hereby extended for a period of 90 days under the same terms and conditions as set forth in the agreement, with the exception of the monthly compensation as set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the mayor and municipal clerk be and are hereby duly authorized, empowered, and directed to execute any documents needed to effectuate the purpose and intent of this resolution. I, Mary Canisi, RMC, municipal clerk of the city of Northfield, do certify that the foregoing resolution was adopted at a meeting of the City of Northfield Council held this second day of March 2021, in witness whereof. I have here unto set my hand and official seal the second day of March with signature lines for the clerk and mayor.
Any further questions on the consent agenda? Roll call?
You want to do all in favor to vote, and then we didn't motion
Okay.
to adopt yet, right?
I'll do it the right way, yes. All in favor to
Aye.
vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I guess I'm gonna do it the right way.
That's okay. You're good.
I was halfway there.
You're good.
My turn. I'll make the necessary motion to pass by consent agenda, Resolutions 57, 2021 through 63 of 2021, and 65, 2021, and 66, 2021.
Second motion.
Are there any further questions?
President.
Yes, sir.
On 66, 2021, between our monthly premium that we have to pay and what we would spend on emergency management that was requested this year, we could bring EMS back in-house. And I think that we should seriously reconsider doing that the way this is going right now with this contractor and this, and the way
Good point.
we're going in this community. Collectively, living with Summers Point, Northfield, Pleasantville, I think should do it jointly. And with those types of money, you can buy equipment, start building insurance companies, and start eventually making a profit like Egg Harbor Township in Galloway.
Frank, I wouldn't mind exploring that
That's
with
an
you.
interesting point, yes.
I would love
Got
to
90
explore
days.
that.
Mhm.
If you don't explore it, you'll never know.
Full circle.
Well, I mean, we can certainly look at that, but as of right now, we have 90 days to figure that out.
I think we can do it in 90 days. Check it out.
If you'd like, we're open to, I'm open to it. I imagine anybody on council would be as well.
I'm open to forming a committee with Frank and
Okay.
and putting our heads together and doing it.
Okay, then. With that, roll call. For the
Mr.
consent.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Retz,
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes,
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
ordinances or ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 3-2021, an ordinance amending section 215 of the Code of the City of Northfield governing land use and development,
Second,
to be read by title only.
sorry. Second,
It's my cheat sheet.
second again.
Yes. As Councilwoman Madden stated, this is, she read the ordinance by title. This is the introduction. There will be no public input. It will be published in full in the Press of Atlantic City on March 6th. It's presently posted in the lobby of City Hall in full as well as on the municipal website. As a matter of municipal land use law, this will be referred to the planning board and they will have 35 days to render an opinion and respond. And the matter will be taken up for a second reading. There will be a public hearing by this council and it will be considered for final adoption on April 6th of this year.
Roll call? No?
Anyone have a question?
Any other questions? Roll call.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Retz.
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
Motion carries for the introduction of ordinance 3 of 2021.
Payment of bills.
I'd like to make the necessary motion to authorize payment of the bills in the amount of $1,021,883.56.
I second that.
Roll call. No any questions? Now roll call.
Mr. Deweese,
Yes.
Mrs. Madden, Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Retz.
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes,
Motion carries for payment of bills.
meeting notices.
Next city council meeting will be held March 16th, 6 p.m. work session, regular session, followed immediately.
And do I have a motion to adjourn?
No. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.